ya go ka botsa dipotso bogolo segolo mabapi le di-budget speeches tse re tswang mo go tsone mo bekeng eno le e fetileng le puo ya tonakgolo ya porofense fane a bula kokoanotheo molao ya porofense. Mme pele ga re ka simolola tiro eo ke tle go kopa fela gore re buleng ka national anthem ya rona. Ka se sebaka ke tle go kopa gore re observe just a moment of silence. Re lebogile batsadi. Ke tsaya tšhono eno go dumedisa tonakgolo ya porofense ya rona ya Northwest re Lazarus Kagiso Mokgosi ba khuduthamaga botlhe ba ba leng fano ba mafapha a rona ba puso eno ya bosupa kana tsamaiso ya bosupa. Ke dumedise le ditlhogo tsotlhe tse di leng fano tsa mafapha, di-HODs tse tsotlhe tse di leng fano, di-DDGs tse di leng fano, batlhankedi bagolo ba puso ba ba leng fano, ditlhogo tsa communications kana tsa tlhaeletsano tse di leng fano go tswa mo mafapheng otlhe, di-media liaison officers tse di leng fano mmogo le bobegakgang jo bo leng fano. Ke a lo dumedisa bagaetsho. Tiro ya rona e simolotse mme ka se sebaka ke tlile go kopa go biletsa kwano mokhuduthamaga wa lefapha la thuto in her capacity as leader of government business go tla go re amogela le go alela tona kgolophate.
No, thank you very much, spokesperson. Without wasting any time, Premier, after our budget speeches, there was this argument between referring to your name, whether your name is it Lazarus or Lazarus. So, so it seems like our community members were confused to say that, no, man, it's Lazarus, not Lazarus. So I had to explain it to say that there's a benefit. Yeah, the public ordinary school. I'm a product of the public ordinary school. Resitsomu is a product of public ordinary school for that particular matter, but is able to pronounce your name, that Lazarus, not Lazarus. Without wasting any time, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence, the newly elected Premier of the Northwest Province, Premier Kagiso Lazarus Mokgosi, and also to acknowledge the presence of all the members of Executive Council present here today. and all the HODs from different departments present in this media briefing engagements, and not forgetting our media practitioners who are present here and our government communicators. Colleagues, one must indicate that this is our first media briefing engagement since the 7th administration. And through opening of the legislature, the Premier was very resolute in terms of issues of transparency, access of information by our community, and accountability, which is only possible through media. I must indicate that the Premier is clear in terms of us as government to meet on quarterly basis to share information on government programs. This will go a long way in closing the communication and thriving reflection of South Africans' diversities and cultures. This especially so through the public broadcaster radios and television station. The many community radio stations across the Northwest Province and beyond played a huge part. These include community print media that is close to the people and constantly reflecting content that enhances the voice of the people. In his address during the budget speech and opening of the Northwest Province Legislature, Premier Mokgosi emphasized that the provincial government will strengthen relationships with the mainstream and community media. This will also do as part of our efforts of consistently disseminate information on government programs with the residents of Northwest Province as well as the rest of the country. We are mindful, colleagues, of the critical role that you play in constantly picking up issues that are close to our communities and placing them on the public discourse. As public representatives, we welcome being held accountable by all oversight structures, and this includes the media through their platforms. We also urge you, this one is very important and critical, we also urge you to also give fair coverage to developmental stories that empower our communities. We are not saying that you must be puppets, they are the government. We are not saying that you must be biased. Wrong is wrong, right is right. What we are appealing to you is that you must be fair as much as possible, because playing politics through media really is a dangerous way of actually collapsing government. What we want, like I've already said, that we are available to account for our responsibilities, but we want fair treatment. As much as we have created this particular platform, actually we are sending a message to you to say that we are available 24/7. If there are any issues raised by community members, or if there are any disputes regarding any department, what you have to do, just communicate with the relevant executive member to check and verify facts, because the most important thing is facts. Having said this, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this session and invite you to engage with us. I'll also, through you, program director or the spokesperson, to present, the chief director responsible for communication in the Premier's office, meaning that you are in charge of this, all communicators from all these departments. They account to you. You are in charge. You are in charge. So I wish to present the Premier of the Northwest Province to officially to talk to you. Thank you very much.
I think it's good morning. We are still in the morning. Okay. Good morning to members of the media gathered here this morning. ESCO members, Director General, heads of departments, and all of you ladies and gentlemen. We meet here today after I delivered a speech on the official opening of the Northwest Provincial Legislature to highlight and put emphasis on the priorities of the 7th administration. We have invited you today as part of our ongoing efforts to cement our relations with members of the media. The media plays an important role in keeping our communities abreast of key government programs that are primarily aimed at changing the lives of our people for the better. We affirm and fully support the independence of the media to hold government accountable as enshrined in our Constitution. This Media Day of today, which we are launching, will be held annually after every premier state of the province in this province to communicate developmental initiatives of this administration as well as interventions on various socio-economic challenges such as unemployment, poverty, and income inequalities afflicting our communities. We will also hold quarterly media sessions with yourselves to report on progress registered in attending to a number of challenges, remedial action plans, and achievements. We are not ignorant to the challenges confronting our province, and we are hard at work to speedily resolve them. In the past 2 weeks, members of the Executive Council have been tabling their budget and policy speeches that are aligned to their annual performance plan to ensure that we create economic opportunities for our people whilst attending to their concerns that relates to service delivery. The period from now until 31st of March 2025, the 7th administration will be completing the work of the 6th administration to ensure a seamless transition between the two administrations. The full account and report back of the 2024 State of the Province address will therefore be in February 2025, which will also include a full resource program of action of the 7th administration. The provincial government has subsequently developed a program of action for the 2024 State of the Province address for implementation. Today, we have invited you to highlight the key priority areas of the 7th administration. Firstly, like I said in the opening of the legislature, we have appointed the Economic and Investment Advisory Council, consisting of members of the Executive Council, economists, the industry experts, organized agriculture sector, labor also, tourism sector, mining, and independent experts. Later this month, like I said, we will be convening this council for our first meeting to craft clear path to drive our investment and infrastructure program. This will include giving guidance in the implementation of the provincial growth and development strategy. Through our special economic zones, we have so far gathered investment commitments to the tune of 164 billion that will create over 5,000 jobs opportunities for our people. In addition to this, we will be rolling out 3 mega infrastructure projects in water, sanitation, and roads infrastructure. The former will be in the city of Matlosana, JB Max, and Makwasi Hills municipalities, while the latter will be spread across the 4 districts of our province. These projects will cost 19 billion rands and will create over 60,000 work opportunities and targeted to young persons and women. We will be working hard, or we will be working hand in hand with the Infrastructure South Africa, located in the presidency, to see to the full implementation of these projects. These projects, and in particular water infrastructure, will give impetus to our agricultural master plan that is primarily aimed at creating mega farms in the 4 districts. These farms will be centered on agro-processing and beef beneficiation. Through our growth and development strategy, we will initiate the Northwest Development Fund in partnership with the private sector. The management of the fund will be spearheaded by government in partnership with this private sector. Government will play a key role. The setting up of the fund will be arranged in a way that will ensure good governance principles will be adhered to, whilst ensuring that there are few impediments as possible to ensure seamless delivery of programs and projects. We will try as much as possible to limit unnecessary bureaucracy as it relates to the fund, but within the framework of the law. This fund will help to resuscitate our ailing tourism sector, particularly our provincial parks, as well as the refurbishment of the George Dick Munsiwa and Pilanesberg Airport. I need to emphasize that the youth empowerment will be one of the apex priorities of this administration. To this end, we will be implementing the labor activation plan that will result in the creation of 27,000 work opportunities and training to the unemployment people, and in particular young people in this province. Through the National Youth Service Fund, we will implement training and skills development opportunities that will benefit over 1,200 young people in this province. And this focus of young people, the Department of Public Works and Roads, Social Development, Human Settlement, and Arts, Sports and Culture will be responsible. We have directed the Department of Public Works and Roads to investigate the possibility of including a new model for the expanded public works program to ensure that this program assists young people with various skills development programs to be self-sufficient. The Victor Sephora Provincial Bursary Scheme will be resuscitated, and later this year, we will announce a new intake of not less than 100 students for the 2025 academic year. The Accelerated Service Delivery Program, which we normally call Tuntalero, has proven to be an important instrument in expediting provision of services to our municipalities and our people. We call it the Tuntalero Reloaded. We are going for an aggressive approach this time. We are ramping up the program with the implementation of Phase 4, whose focus will be accountability to our members of the public to give feedback and report cases of bad or lack of services in our communities. As mentioned during the address last week, the Executive Council will not hesitate to intervene in any municipality if the situation requires such an intervention. There are promising signs of improvements in several interventions that we have already taken in some of our municipalities, and we are confident that with such progress, we can increase the number of progress in a number of our municipalities. Program Director, today we want to say less because we have opened the legislature. We delivered more than 1 hour daily speech. The MECs have presented their budget speeches aligned to APPs and their policy directives. We expect more from the media. We will then provide the necessary answers. We are not here to talk more than they are supposed to talk. Thank you very much.
Re lebogela puo ewa tona kgolo re a leboga thata. Bagaetsho ka se sebaka re tle go letla bobegakgang go ka botsa dipotso. Se re tleng go se dira ke gore e tla re fa o ema o boikitsisi e tla nna yone karolo ya introduction se re kwadileng foo. O tla ikitsisi gore o wa setheo sefeng morago ga foo o botsa potso ya gago. Komiti khuruthamaga province ke eno bagaetsho re buletse. tshegofatso ke yona o tla tla go go lona ka mike a re simolole ko morago kwa tshegofatso ko go ntate ko morago yone le o bapileng le ene.
Ke a go leboga motsamaisa kopano a boke gakgang naina jame ke o lefile Vilakazi go tswa ko Northwest on Sunday ke go kopa go bua hela ka serolo tona kgolo ke utlwile o bua ka private sectors re kopa re bula le gore ke bomang ba o ntse o bua ka bone ka bobeletsi gore who are these private sectors ke a feta fo tla ke tsene mo budget speech nya ga mo khurutama ga madoda sambatha na ntsha mo bekeng e hitileng o ka ile jalo ka go ka oketsa ditliniki mme mathata ke a boneng ka gore nna ke mosima no nna nthata mo magaeng ra
Tona Vilakazi re
le hari ke a leboga tshwarelo go santse go le go sha bagolo go sha spend leave ka nna ke motho o itsamela mo magaeng ke bona o ka re tsereganyo ya go nna eng re le hari mo ntlheng ya melemo segolobogolo jang di-chronic o itlhola o kopana le basadi bagolo ba re ko tleliniking gata gona melemo a sukiri le high blood nka ira sekai metlholo e ke e bone maloba ka ko dipolaseng tsele tsa Afrisem ko tleliniking ya Dartfield basadi bagolo ba boa ka ko ntlha ya security e ya jalo ko ba khuruthamageng botlhe lo ena tona kgolo re na le mathata le bobega kgang ba goreng ba tlhokomedi ba dikago ba lla gore ga ba duelwe ebile di-company tse di a fetoga mo go bodimo ga bone tse dingwe di sia ka madi di a bo gauteng ka madi la go ntlagatsa yang so se sa goreng batlhokomedi ba dikago ba kgone go ka duelwa le madi a bona di-provident ba bone go tswa ko di-company tsa security tla ke ko le hapeng kilele la agriculture la ga re madoda sambatha ke le kopa ya le hapa la ga mme bitsa leng kopane ga re tla mo dintlheng tse tsa temothuo go di tsereganyo di nna eng ba gaetsho ra bona gore mahatsha a bua mo di-CPA mme di a phutlhama ha di etsa go phutlhama re sambatha lo ena mme leng kopane economy ya sokola kore jaanong re na le mathata a food security ha re tsaya le mathata a food security re na le mathata a economy gora gore ditoropo tsa rona bodela re ile tse dingwe economy ya go tlase re sambatha o ntshitse ntlhe ya difante tse re bonang di tawa gore re go dira dikopo rona balemi ba ba potlana le balemi ba bangwe re go kopa mme nna ke na dikopo di le 3 jaanong ke boletsa mo baleming botlhe le nna ke itsenya mo teng ka gore nna ke na le reference di le 3 jaanong ke a go apply gape ke a go nna le reference a bosupa mme ke se ke kry sepe jaanong dintlha tse wa go di lebella jang re lebella ko morago gore nka gore ke re e tshwana la di-RDP gore sa le motho a kwadisa RDP ka 1996 a santse a kwadisa le gone jaanong ga e se goroge jaanong ke dilo tse ke kopang gore fela ka bokhutsanyane re ka leka go ka ditlhagisa ke dipotso tse ke nang le tsone ke a leboga
ke tle go kopa gore ba ba tla latelang Vilakazi re go fe maximum ya dipotso di ka nna 3 ga rena re letla more than 3 go leka go fa batho ba botlhe tšhono ya gore ba kgone go ka botsa dipotso le bone. Yeah, over to you.
Dumelang lotlhe ba gaetso. My question is that it's Lebo Moeng from Megadikgang and Mo Media. I only have 2 questions actually. Premier, in the past administration, since my return to the Northwest, I've noticed that it's like climbing the Himalaya mountain for my publication to acquire advertising from government. That advertising is not for my benefit alone, but it's for the empowerment of the community media. I have to be there when MEC Sambata travels to Taung, but I can't go because there's little or minimal empowerment efforts from government departments as far as advertising in the community media is concerned. That I can guarantee and tell you because I deal with this every day. I have to go and cover government events, but there's no support. And I don't have to know somebody at supply chain management of a certain department for my publication to be awarded an advertisement from government. We know for a fact that each and every government department has got a budget allocated for advertising. If that money is not spent, where is it going? Is it going back to National Treasury? Whereas I am struggling, the one that I needed the most at the community media level. My second question, Premier, is directed to you per se. There has been this process of establishing a medical school in the province. There were 3 campuses that were identified. But when things developed, I observed that the government is not doing enough to bring developmental projects in Mahikeng, which is sadly the capital city of this province. Now the medical faculty is going to Potchefstroom, whereas the Mahikeng campus has got ample space to can even erect a medical faculty together with its academic hospital. You can imagine how many job opportunities are going to be created. You can imagine that how will this airport be active and operational? Because if the medical faculty was awarded to the Mahikeng campus, when I did my last inquiry, I was told that they were waiting for government to decide. Both 3 campuses told me that they're waiting for government. It was very surprising that the medical faculty is now going to Potchefstroom, and useless or less important faculties are being brought to the capital city's campus. Now I want to know what government's strategy is going to be with regard to all those 2 concerns. Thank you very much.
I'm the well-known and famous Muruti Matebesi. Ke Muruti wa province ya Bokone Bophirima wa dingwaga tse dintsi thata. Good morning, Premier and the Executive Council and the colleagues and heads of government, colleagues mo medieng. Ke tla ha ga ke emela seruti gampieno. I'm from the publication called Fountain of Hope Christian newspaper. Ke aba Kristeo. Ke na le dipotso ile go mokhuduthamaga le Hari moruti le Hari mokhuduthamaga Reverend le Hari tsatsi le lengwe ke ne ke ile go dira phitlho ko metseng ya go Business Flay ha ke goroga mo phitlhong tse tswetse ka be ke lwala. I got ill. Unfortunately, the clinic was closed on a Saturday. I had to leave the funeral with the elders of the church. Ke tabogela ko Lichtenburg ko hospital ko Lichtenburg because the clinic ya go itekeng in a church ka weekend. Ha se yone fela ke dira example fela eo. Ke botsa mo khudutsha maga gore ke di plan di fetsana le tsona ka gore bolwetse ga botle fela mo gare ga beke le ka weekend e boatla. Bolwetse ga botle hela between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock tse dingwe ka 4 o'clock go di clinic di a tswala. Selo se se antosa le mme Mama Tebesi ko lapeng ka gore ke mo ke se professional nurse ke re your department ga re tsese ya no se tlisa gender based violence ko high. These are some of the contributing factors. Se di dira go nna le GBV ko high, but your department go tswala ga lona thusong ke ne ka itota le the former MEC and the deputy minister of the Department of Health go ile ga re utlwisa botlhoko thata mme se se ile sa re utlwisa botlhoko thata ke gore thusong ya agilwe ke kereke. It was started by a church. Ya nong fale tswala ine ka ibua le mokhuduthamaga Sambatha ke bua yana le teng ke re bogolo le ka benne la hand over back to the church wa bona go Galexpan mo teng ga hospital la Galexpan go santse gona le kereke mo teng ka gore Galexpan also was started by a church, George Stegman. thuso. Now how feta fale nako le nako ha ke feta fale ke tswala matlho ka gore e re utlwisitse botlhoko thata mo letlhakoreng la kereke le baagi ga re gane gore gona le dilo tse di neng di dira gore thusweng e tswalo re a dumalana. But the plan you could have handed over the building to the church, the NG Kerk in Africa. Number 2, how no go the middle schools, Department of Education. Mewa warona me viola mewa me rapero, mewa tapero. Mewa me rapelo, mewa se aparo, mewa la bone. Ha no go tswalwa dikolo, the middle schools. Kanye ile a re tshwenya thata le bakhuduthamaga gore se tlogeleng dikolo fela di nna di wild elephant. Di sa atikin le sa di hand over le bogole di donate le di NPO le di donate le di kereke le di donate le bomang go fitlhella dikolo tseo bontsi ba tsona baagi ba di thuba ba di vandalize ba irang bo Ramatlakana middle school ke bogolo ka gore madi ao ke madi a rona ke ra gore ne ke re ke ne di sa no go sena plan o tla kgaola mo kerekeng mona o ntse tsena bo bishop ya bofelo mokhuduthamaga wa department ya public works EPWP ena le se bidwang go ke non-state sector program e tsenyeletsang rona di kereke e tsenyeletsang di NPO mar di payment tsa teng ga di tshwane le tsa go bo masepala ga di tshwane ga di lekane rona le malatsi a berekang a ba bereki ba berekang ba bangwe ba bereka 14 days ba berekang go masepala le ba bangwe ba bereka bo 21 days se dira gore motho o nnang ka fa mongwe a nna ka fa ba seke ba gola madi mme madi o tlhatlhaga ko public works le se ba akanya yang selo seo ke a leboga tlholang le modimo
re a leboga bishop wa bona bishop o motho yo eloquent ne yana ha o le eloquent ga go tlhokagale gore o ka tlhalosa thata botsa fela ya straight to the question ka tswetswe di buitse di tle go tlang a re direng ka tsela entseng jalo re tswalela tikologo ya ntlhafa ya dipotso re fe keteledi pele tšhono ya go ka di arabela re tla moraga fo re tswelele pele gape ka ya bobedi
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start on the issue of CPAs. Now, the problem with CPAs, Honorable Premier, is that the people who were designing the constitutions of CPAs designed them almost similar to political structures, their constitutions. And their term of office, remember it's 5 years, they now have to be forced to go to electoral processes. At the center of their collapse, CPAs, it's contestations in the same communities who are members of a CPA about leadership. It's assumed that the money allocated for the restitution of land is therefore accessible for them to contest control of that money. That's why CPAs are not stable at leadership level. Now, what we are trying to change this financial year, we want to add a component of taking from the same CPAs young people through AgriSeta, so that in the process you have an operational component of trained young people from the same CPA who must be preoccupied purely with ensuring that there's productivity in the land given to them. And then the elected structure must then run affairs of the elections. Quite many number of them have collapsed CPAs, but what is even worse is that at the time transfer of the funds is finished, majority of them collapses in terms of operation. It's another issue we're looking at to ensure that the component of sustainability of productive activities on the land is not compromised because people are fighting. It's one element we're dealing with of CPAs. Honorable Premier, on operation. Now, on the request of funding, what we're going to do, because we are starting in Ramutsiri Muilwa, the reason it's because they requested themselves. They requested the department that it must help them, give them an empowerment and explanation on how to go about applying. So we're dealing with Ramutsiri Muilwa on Monday because it's their request. We will then have to extend that to cover all the districts so that at least our people are given an explanation and are assisted on understanding of the documents expected, so that the process of application can't be that tedious to themselves. That we will do. Thank you very much.
For the benefit of the SABC.
Ke a leboga e re ke arabele ka gangwe also part of the CPAs tse di welang under the conservation areas. Members of the media will agree with me that part of the budget speech se re sentshitseng re buile ka gore re tle go collaborate le the national department gore re kgone go zoom into the space here. The areas tse di mo di conservation areas or mo di protected areas, amongst others re na le Madikwe e leng gore re na le di claims tse pedi go go yona. We have Pilanesberg where we have 4 claims, we have Borakallo where we have 5 claims, we have Baborspan di bua ka barolong ba ga Sitshiro le barolong ba ga ba Modiboa. So all those areas, the protected areas, re na le responsibility ya co-management as government, and therefore re tlhokaela gore re nne le stability, because some of the CPAs di unstable, go na le di unresolved issues between them and the traditional authorities. But we have already engaged the Department of Land Reform. We are getting to an agreement of co-management so that we are able to activate through the remaining amounts that our people must start to benefit from the land that they have acquired. So
this is the only moment, comrade, I'm sorry about, this is the only moment, MEC Longkopane, where I get to direct you. So can I direct you to come back to the stage and respond?
So maybe in brief, I must indicate that the question was to say, what are we doing as a government demo DCPA le go bona hore ba ungwelwa mo go tsona. So I wanted to indicate that 13 claims di dirilwe on the CPAs that are on the conservation areas, and 5 of them are in our protected areas. So in the budget speech, we were very clear, hore, as government, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Land Reform so that we facilitate on getting the budget that's teng kwale gore re tle go ba assist on capacity building, also lega activation of economic activities in the land acquiring. We have already started engagements. We'll be working closely with people and parks and all other structures se batho ba rona ba ikarabela mo go tsona as CPAs. We also have land claims that are with conservation but outside our parks, like for instance Bahurutsi Baga Sebogodi. That is why I'm saying I'm glad that we are covered for the communities that rona le tsona di re thuse gore re ba thuse, because where I'm seated I still have to engage the MEC wa Kosatma, because I went there and we have already secured assistance, because gona le 32 million e re batlang go ba thusa ka yone mole, but unfortunately there's no cooperation of the CPA and there is a serious instability, and as a result already the investor have decided to pull away, so we're still engaging the investor. Also, where we are seated, government through the Premier spoke of an establishment of smart cities. We are already as a department facilitating the Mekhareng Oberon, where 233 hectares, this is in delay mo spacing sa gore ba kgone go di dirisa, because already an amount of 72 million is restored, and we have also entered into that agreement as a department to facilitate, because remember all those conservation areas, because of the co-management agreement of government, the responsibility as government to assist. So we are doing well as government in terms of our plans and readiness. The challenge is the instabilities that we have, and that is why in our budget speech we have also made a commitment that we will have to sign also a collaboration with the House of Traditional Leadership, so that they must also give direction and assist in those instabilities. Thank you.
EPWP. I think it is quite an opportune time to really acknowledge the challenges that we have currently with the EPWP programs. We will understand that the EPWP is a question of that is involving in terms of the DDM, both the municipalities and government departments, and it is a baby of the Public Works, Department of Public Works and Roads. Now, we have also acknowledged those particular challenges that we are talking about, but we are saying, and I think it was properly articulated in the budget speech, to say we have to remodel the recruitment of the EPWP, and we have to reimagine it as a developmental program. So we are no longer going to recruit EPWPs to come and receive stipends for 24 months, and when they leave the program, and some of them have not been leaving the program because that was their source of income. Now we are saying, let us recruit them, but also let us capacitate them, develop them, and make sure that when they leave the program, they are able to can fly on their own.
Now, as the department, we are, the program of changing the situation is on course. I can rest assure you that this will be the challenge of the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Premier, fellow ESCO members, SG, HODs, and the media house. I was not aware that today I'm Mr. Sambat. Now coming to questions, né? Medical school or medical faculty in health, there are big terminologies, Dr. Dekan. It's no more like at Kosatno. Medical school or faculty. I'm answering that question. The campus building will be based in JB Marks at Northwest University, Potchefstroom campus. The foundation, yes, that is 1 to 3, will be in JB Marks Potchefstroom Hospital. The clinical years 4 and 5 is in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, with Klerzorp, Tsepong Hospital being the main training center. Tsepong Hospital is called the tertiary hospital. It's the biggest hospital in the province. And then the 6th, now I'm answering your question. The 6th year will be decentralized. Go to all districts. It will come to Mahikeng. Just wait and see. Relax. Why clinics close over the weekend? I can extend the question. Why clinics are not operating 24/7? Some are 10 hours, some are 12 hours. But before that, we are increasing the number of clinics operating 24/7 at the moment. We are depending on budget. If it's 24/7, it can be 2 shifts. So if you don't have enough manpower personnel, you can't do that. But we are on the progress of increasing that number. We have clinics operating 8 hours to 10 hours. Of course, we have clinics operating 24/7. Now, we are increasing number of the nurses and doctors. Is the answer to answer why clinics are not operating 24/7. For now, we are going to fill 106 vacancies posted for nurses. Will be filled within 6 months from now. This will capacitate us to have enough nurses and increase operating hours in our clinics. I answered the question of the medical school. Ne? There were 3 questions. Why shortage of clinics? Only for this year, we are going to build or renovate 34 clinics in the province. 34, not 4, 34 clinics in the province. And then we are on those 34, key revestment, maintenance, building of new clinics, or having what you call park homes or temporary clinics in remote areas. A park home is like a mobile. In police, we call it a mobile police station. It's like a mobile clinic. Some of them, they are movable, some of them, they are not movable. Now, why there is a shortage of medicine? That's my last question. Why there is a shortage of medicine in the province or medical availability? The record is that before that question, our medical availability in the province is above 80%. If it was in January, that question was going to be relevant. But now we are above 80%. That means we are less 20%. And then we are working around the clock on that 20%. So those who are from old schools, 80% is simple A. That means you are doing the best. We are completing 2 bulk pharmacy in Ventersdorp and Delareyville, where you put your, it's like a depot for medicine. We are also refurbishing Mabatu bulk pharmacy to increase one ability to dispense medication in our hospitals or community healthcare centers and clinics. So far, so good. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, colleagues. My question is from Moruti Matebesi regarding all the rationalized schools across the province. I must actually admit, Premier, that as the Department of Education, we took long actually to do what is right. Remember, all the infrastructure, all the buildings across the province belongs to Public Works. So Public Works did transfer all the schools to the Department of Education. After being rationalized, it means that it is our responsibility as the Department of Education, that is Sishibi, to transfer them back to the relevant department, which is Public Works. I can attest in this particular meeting that we are trying our level best in terms of speeding up that particular process. We are consolidating all the schools that were closed, even though we are still encountering challenges where now we are experiencing issues of overcrowding and the issue of scholar transport, where we have to reconsider some of the decisions that we've made in the past as the Department of Education. But we can assure this collective that it's just a matter of time. We'll do what is right. Even Auditor General was very clear in terms of this issue of asset registers so that we consolidate and close it. So we commit before the media practitioners that we are going to do what is right, and we'll continue to communicate with the Office of the Premier in terms of guidance. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, Premier and my colleagues and the media. I'm responding to the question that was raised on what constitutes the private sector. The Premier referred to the private sector when he spoke of the establishment of the Northwest Development Fund. Now, the Northwest Development Fund, as Premier stated, it will be in partnership with the private sector. Now, the private sector is business in the province that are operating in the province. And not only business that are doing business with government, but business that are operating in the province. We've already started initiative meeting with the banks, and we're going to extend the meeting also calling all their CEOs and chairpersons with the Premier. We're going to also have an engagement with the Minister of Minerals, call all the CEOs and chairpersons of mining houses operating in the province. That meeting was held in the past. It's just to resuscitate and to indicate that we have now created a platform that all of us can contribute as private sector and government to make sure that we deliver on government priorities. Amongst others, it's what the Premier has indicated in terms of resuscitating the private sector. He has spoken about the challenges we have in terms of infrastructure in protected areas that Mayor Bitsa Emisileng Kopane spoke of. So it's not an easy responsibility to execute without the necessary support of the private sector, because the purse is more than the purse of government. Our budget is only 54 billion. The demands are very high, and unfortunately we are cognizant of also the current fiscal constraints that government find itself in and the continuous budget cut. So there's a need for us to be innovative in terms of looking at different ways to meet our developmental needs and priorities at the same time. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Premier, I'm more than 50 years. I forgot Tusong Hospital. Tusong was closed because it was built on a dolomite soil. People receive services at Mahikeng Provincial Hospital and Izuseng Healthcare Center for temporal. Thank you.
No, ntate le hare ke o mogolo. Ke moruti. La le betser ska ra so ra leboga. But just to amplify the point that he has raised on Tusong, I know this has been a very, very emotional issue, especially of the residents of Itsoseng. But the condition warranted that government must decisively deal with the dolomitic environment that is there. And therefore, on the basis of that, a proactive government will not wait until there is a disaster. So that relocation was based on that assessment. But the fact remains that the hospital had to amplify what the MEC was saying. Second, the issue of security companies in the province, where payment is not done on time. Either government is not paying on time, or the security is paid on time, they don't pay their employees. Now, government does not have a contract with employees. We have a contract with the service provider. And the contract is very clear. It outlines the service level agreement is clear. It outlines the do's and don'ts. So there's no confusion. We need to manage the service provider. The service provider must deal with the employees. But in most instances, people who are employees, they want to make government as if it's their employer, which is not the case. Now I'm saying, let's manage the service provider. Let's manage the service level agreements. If they are not in line with what has been agreed, government must take the necessary punitive action. But the issue is compliance. We must ensure that there is compliance as government by these service providers. In terms of conditions of employment, how much are they paying? Because we do pay as per their specifications. But when they go and have to pay their people, they don't pay them as they claim from government. So it's us who must do the necessary inspection, monitoring, and able to say, but there is non-compliance from a SIRA point of view or whatever. So it's important that government departments must do their work to ensure that there is a necessary compliance. So we must also ensure as government that we pay within the 32 days, as explained, unless there is something very serious. But what we are doing, we've got a tracking system, and we are also reporting as departments to Treasury on us ensuring that we pay service providers within the necessary time that has been stipulated. But if there's a deviation, you must then explain why. But I'm saying that is a very important, and we said officials in government who are responsible for this payment, in their performance agreement, we must include this thing of 32 days payment. So that if they are not doing that, they put their invoices, they put it in their files, they demand something for payment to be done and so forth. So it's important that we also have them being responsible for their performance in as far as payment is concerned. And the tracking document must indicate when this thing was received, when was it actioned, and so on and so that we have them being accountable. So that has to do with the security. Just to add on the issue of the medical schools. Now, this is a national competence. They are attached to tertiary hospital. Now, Tusong or the Tlaxdop, not Tusong, Tsepo, not Tusong, Tsepo. Like the MEC said, is the only tertiary hospital that we have in the province. So if you have to put a faculty, you must attach it to a tertiary hospital. So it goes without saying that is why it has to go to Claxton, not Potchefstroom. Now, what happens is that the Mahikeng, it will host the veterinary faculty or section, the Mahikeng. The Rustenburg will have what is called the engineering faculty. And Freiburg will have to host what is called pharmacy faculty. So that's the plan of government. So we need to go in that direction. So it's not influenced by any other thing, but we are equally trying to distribute so that our people from different districts are able to access these services across their districts. So I just wanted to also add on that one. The issue of the investors. You will recall the 6th administration had, or they attended the BRICS summit. And on the sideline, acting Premier by then, Remaloi, had some engagement with private sector people who were at the BRICS summit. And those people said, we are ready to come to the Northwest and invest. The Northwest, they must just make the environment more friendlier to us. And following that interaction of the 6th administration, we held our investment conference, where private people came and said, we are making pledges to say we are ready, we want to invest either in water, in sanitation, in agriculture, and so forth. Now, these investors come from locally and international. So that's how I said, we may not sit here and try to indicate 20 of them. They are there, they are private people. Now, we have assessed, some are ready, they are prepared to start with the rollout of their investment. Others are medium, others are long term. But there are other logistical issues which must be put in place, an example, land, and so on and so forth. So it's important that we should indicate that there are these plans, short, medium, and long term, that government have, but the investors are so, and we're even saying, those who still have investors and those who still want to come, our doors are open. So we will welcome any investor who come and assist government, because we don't have the necessary capacity. The local advertising, I've said in my speech, we are going to make departments and municipalities to utilize our local media for advertising purposes. So it's important that this point was raised, that we don't want you to go and pay Giorgio for you to be assisted for advertising. It's our responsibility to create space for emerging media houses. So that one will be done. They are here. I've said it in my speech. We are going to actually monitor on a quarterly basis how many of them have used local media for purpose of advertising. So it's also an issue of performance. We are also going to look at that. So the last thing, it was only on the issue of the PWP and the community-based waste program, the one for the non-sector and the one for municipalities. It's not the same as the one at Public Works. So that's what the MEC was trying to explain. The conditions, even the funding thereof, these ones are funded by National Public Works. This one of EPWP is funded by the Provincial Public Works. So the terms and conditions are not the same. Even the number of people who are employed, you can see Public Works is employing 15,000. But when you look at the sector appointments, you'll find that it's about 150, 200. And if you go to municipalities, it's around 200 and so forth. Because it has to do with the financial capacity. Thank you very much.
Re lebogela bonontlhotlho jo e leng gore dipuso tsotlhe di arabilwe ka jone ba gaetsho. Re a leboga. A re tseng tikologo ya bobedi, tla ke simolole fa gare fa.
Dumelang bagolo, ke nna re Refilwe Madisa, Northwest Times. Ne ke kopa go botsa ka, firstly, with the tourism parks that are being dilapidated and neglected, I think I'm going to be specific to Letlamorin Dam. its stature, it has really, and the multi-purpose center, number two, I think it's to the DBE to say, it was said, I think, after the beginning of this fiscal year, robotics is going to be introduced into schools. So I'm very interested in knowing how the department is planning to familiarize already kids, let's say grade 4, to catch up with robotics. Never mind by the grade 1. What is the plan in ensuring that our kids are going to be enlightened by robotics, as it's going to be one of the subjects next year? Thank you.
My name is Obakem Maje from Taun Daily News. I only have 3 questions plus 1. The first question goes to Mayor Bitsa Lenkopane, good detect.
Please do not over-elaborate in asking the question.
No, I'm going straight to the question. Thank you. Mayor Bitsa, can you just brief us regarding the Taung World Heritage Site? Because we have seen so much development over the years at Taung World Heritage Site, but nothing comes forth. Anyway, just give us an update. And also regarding to Taung World Heritage Site, will we ever see Taung skull returning to its origin in our lifetime? Thank you. The other one goes to Mewako Public Works. We understand that there is a road construction project between Molelema and Mateng in Taung. This has been dragging, and then MEC Ntate Molapisi in 2023 he introduced that there will be a resumption of that project. But now nothing is happening. Just enlighten us what is happening with that project. And then the other one goes to Ntate Lazarus Mokhosi. We understand that the previous premiers launched Project Bulelametsi in the province. How far is that? Because right so batho ba ko Motantanyaneng le ba ko Siking, they drink from the quarry, and Bakusi King, they draw water from a makeshift well. The other one goes to you, Ntate Mokhosi. According to the Public Service Commission, we still have government officials who are doing business with government. How are you going to address that issue? Thank you.
Refer this side. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. This one goes to education and health. I think MEC Ma'am Viola, you traveled recently to Germany. And I like it. I've been hearing you continuously also in the past weeks. Lovely, I love what you're doing. I hear what you're saying. But I would like to know, in terms of education, working alongside health, when it comes to HIV and AIDS at schools, when it comes to pregnancy, teenage pregnancy at schools, I haven't seen or heard any programs recently or even before regarding this. And I think this is one of the most big problems that we have, because our youth is very, very bad when it comes to that. I would like to know, what programs do you have or will you be giving to these schools, be it it's primary, be it it's high school, be it it's varsity, because all these three, we see teenage pregnancy, we hear about the HIV and AIDS. So to both education and to both health, what programs are there currently that will start running? Thank you.
Abedi, tla ke fe Thabang ke be ke fa o bapileng le Thabang for this round.
Ke tsena kwe ke dumedise botlhe ba ba leng kwano leina
Thabang.
Thank you very much. My name is Thabang Murutla from SABC News. My question goes to the local government and cooperative governance and human settlements, MEC. In your budget, you mentioned plans to revive Marang, and we understand that the project was halted because of issues relating to mismanagement of the budget that was approved. And we know that the project is situated in a place whereby the land is currently under investigations. So we want to know, in terms of the department, officials that were involved in this project, was there any action taken against those who might have done any wrongdoing? And then, since you mentioned that SHRA is working with the law enforcement agencies to revive this project, where is the project going to be? Are we continuing with this old one, since NHBRC indicated that it was not compliant then? So are we gonna continue with the same buildings, or are there gonna be new buildings? And we also want to understand Marang Estates. What does it mean? Who does it cater for? If you can just explain to this project for us. Another one is the issues at the municipalities. Recently, we understand that it's alleged that mayor at the Rizabotla local municipality appointed an MM without a council resolution. So how is the department going to stabilize municipalities in the province? I'm just referring to Rizabotla because there was recently a request for a court intervention there. That will be all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Debola Tselela from Mafike Mail newspaper. My question is directed to the MEC for Transport, Safety and Community, and to MEC Vessels Moroi. My question is, from the speech that you have made, you have indicated that your entity was awaiting the court outcome to remove the BRT. So that was instituted within the company. I wanted to know if the court would give a finding in favor of the BRT. What is it the provincial government going to do in having to save the jobs of the 1,200 people that are employed by NTI? My other question goes to Housing Corporation to ask that it was expected for this entity to have a board, and I would like to know when is it going to have a board, because it is being over 2 years to 3 without it not having an active board. The other question to Mr. Moroi is on the airport. We are seeing endless advertising on appointing a suitable investor to refurbish and bring back the airport. I just wish to know, what is it that you are not getting right or wrong in making sure that you open the airport and you make it fully operational? Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Ke tsena kwe ke dumedise botlhe ba ba leng fano leina la me ke Lesego Mabote. I'm an independent media practitioner. I have about 3 questions and I will just direct them to members of EXCO. Do we see young people being part of those hired in the rehabilitation program that is due to begin, and if that will come to fruition, because it's a big if? And how do we ensure that tenders of building the so-called mega city are strictly awarded to the people of the Northwest? This as the people who were operating cameras at the legislature opening last week were Zulu speaking, Molehatsing Labatlaru. When is George Dick Montsiwa Airport expected to be relaunched, and how much will be directed to renaming the airport? And how many people actually benefit from the bursary office of the Premier? Thank you very much.
Tabis, that will be the last one.
Thank you very much. My name is Tabiso Mos from SABC News. All my questions are to the Premier. The first one is about the remodeling and repositioning the state-owned entities. You spoke about public-private partnership and also capitalization of the SOEs, but I would like you to expand more on that. How are you going to remodel and reposition these SOEs? And then the second question, on your budget vote and policy speech, you spoke about working hard to clean the public service to ensure that the right people with required ethical conduct are employed with the right skills and qualifications. So, is there an assessment that has been conducted to look at people who have been appointed in positions with no relevant qualifications and skills in the province? You can tell us about that. If there are any officials, you can give us numbers. And then the last one, Premier, this one is a fact. I will not give much of a background to this question, but just to say, in the past 15 years, no Premier has finished his or her term of office in this province. In the past 30 years, it's only 2 Premiers who have finished their term of office. You are the 5th Premier in the past 15 years. So I just want to check, are you really worried about your position that you might leave the office before 2029, taking into consideration that background in the province? Thank you very much.
Tla kopa keteledi pele go tla ka bongwe gape.
No, thank you very much for the question. I was starting to be worried that there's no question attributed to my department. Because when there's no question, the assumption from the Premier is that you are not doing anything. That's why the public, the media is not asking you anything. So thank you very much for the question. Greetings to the Premier, members of EXCO, and my colleagues in the media fraternity. The question directed to us is in regards to the BRP, the Business Rescue Practitioner. As I have indicated in the budget speech, that we are in court to make sure we remove the Business Rescue Practitioner that was appointed to rescue our government entity, which is the NTI. As we all know, the problem that were there at the NTT. Now, according to the contractual obligation that we had with this BRP, he has not adhered to them, because one of them was that in 25 days he must have given us the business rescue plan, and he has failed dismally to do that. It's one of the founding, it is there in our affidavits that we have sponsored to the court, but my colleague in the media is asking a very important question. What is the plan that we have should that court process not succeed? Because it is also a possibility when you approach a court, you approach it having in mind that you might emerge victorious, you might not emerge victorious from the court based on the verdict that we are expecting on the 2nd of September, according to the date that the court has given to us. The visionary Premier that we have of the 7th administration has been in discussion with myself as the political head of the department that we must consider going on the route of the PPP, because whether we come right from the court or not, the entity still requires money to run its own business. Now we must consider the view of making sure that we go on a PPP, private-public partnership, with the private sector that the Premier has been emphatic on, to can be able to come and assist us. And of course, we will make sure that whatever agreement we agree on, It is based on making sure that we rescue the company so that we can be able to assist our people. As you all know, the problems that has engulfed the NTI. So that is the plan B that we have in place. In fact, we have already started with the plan. There are a number of meetings that myself and the Premier we are going to embark on next week in making sure that we put this plan in place. Meanwhile, the issue is in court, so that we prepare ourselves for any decision, should the court favor us or not. Because at the end of the day, the company still needs the resources, and the company still requires the business rescue practitioner. And then the issue of the board, of course, as you know that myself as the political head, I'm a majority shareholder in the company. There is a need for us to have the board. It's as if you were part of my meeting with the Premier yesterday. The Premier did raise that we need to have a board, or alternatively an administrator who on daily basis will be able to brief me on day-to-day runnings of the company. We are going to swiftly make sure that we either appoint an administrator on behalf of myself as the shareholder of the company, or we are going to appoint a board. But that process will be done in the speed of a lightning, Mr. Tebogo. The issue of the airport, yes, we issued a call for the public sector to can come and assist us. I have indicated in the speech that we are not compliant with the various regulatory bodies, primarily due to the issue of funds, because there are certain standards that every airport must be able to adhere to. Now, we cannot adhere to such standards as a result of funds. It is for that reason that as government we are pursuing a route of making sure we work hand in glove with the private sector. We have issued a call previously as the department, and then the response was not satisfactory, because most of the companies that we have received, if not all of them, they were not in compliance with the requirements that we wanted. I'll make you an example. In as much as the particular investor is bringing money to us as government, but compliance is key. We cannot, for instance, appoint a person who's not compliant in as far as the issue of tax is concerned. Those are the difficulties that we face, and there is no way that we can compromise such, because we are a department and the government that is determined to make sure we acquire a clean audit. That is why my department has acquired a clean audit, as it was declared by the Auditor General midweek. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think there's a question relating to Letlamorin developments. I will just be brief to indicate that the National Department had an initiative to develop Letlamorin, but due to the instabilities in the communities, the allocation for Letlamorin has been redirected, and we still hope that we will engage the National Department, because we have seen it working at the development Manyane side, because it is also part of the projects that are initiated by the National. The main contractor was appointed by National. The MEC visited the site last weekend on Sunday, and I'm pleased to indicate that of the 9 contractors that are there, subcontractors, only the main contractor is coming from outside the province, and the 8 subcontractors are local. So I think they will draw comfort from that and start to think differently on the development of Letlamorin. On the Taung heritage site, I must also indicate that in the budget speech, Premier, I became very clear that this is the project that started long time ago, 2013 or so. We have already expended close to 500 million on that, but we managed to communicate to our people as government that the Heritage Center, the museum, the multipurpose, the restaurant and powerhouse, they are 90% complete, and I think soon the Premier will be handing the site to the community of Taung, but further to indicate that just around the same development, we also have the projects that will kickstart for 24-25, which amongst others include the 40 beds middle coast hotel, the 150-seater conference, and the giant Ferris wheel, which is also a development around the Tumen Road. We are collaborating with the Department of Public Works in as far as the roads are concerned. The estimation in terms of that investment is 400 million and the 150 million. So we are agreeing that we are going to hand over that project before the end of September. On the issue of the Taung skull, remember the construction of the museum, and hopefully immediately after the premier has handed over the museum, the department and the Demaini will now take over on other issues that are related to the museum, which amongst others include the issue of the Taung skull itself. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Again, let me appreciate the question, which was deliberately dealing with the issue of youth capacitation. I want to respond to this question in two folds. We are deliberate because if you can remember during the Premier's speech when he opened the legislature, he said, if you don't talk about the youth, you don't talk about me. I think most of us will remember the Premier vividly stating that particular fact. So now as a department, we don't have any alternative but to make sure that in whatever that we are doing and planning, the youth must be in the center of our programs. Now I can, because I think earlier I clarified the issue of the reimagined EPWP. It's no longer that EPWP where you recruit people only to live as just the same as they were recruited. Because it is developmental in approach, making sure that we are building capacity. As the Department of Public Works, out of the 15,800, we are deliberate to say 990 of those should be youth. And the youth that will be developed, especially on the side of the infrastructure, the development will be deliberately on the infrastructure development to make sure that at least when they leave the program, they will be able to can pursue infrastructure programs elsewhere. Secondly, we have what we call Vukupile contractor development that we are using to make sure that they capacitate our youth. And I think I must, because I don't want us to come back to respond to the question of development. I can tell that 55% of those that will be recruited currently in the financial year, out of the total number that they have stated, we are going to make sure that 55% of those that will be recruited to be developed by Vukupile program will be 55% youth and 60% women, and we will also cover 2% of people living with disabilities. In most of the time, we really don't think and talk about those that are military veterans. So we are saying as Public Works, we also include 2% of those in the developmental program of Vukupile. So the youth, they are central to everything, and the programs that we are adopting as the department. I think if we can access the budget speech, you will see it clearly how we have categorized those. I think that was the only question that was directed to me as far as youth development is concerned. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for the questions. There were some few questions regarding the Department of Education. I'll start with the first one that speaks to or directs to coding and robotics. One must indicate that, let me provide clarity in terms of our curriculum. We are using CAPS. We are guided by that particular policy. And I must also indicate that coding and robotics is not yet being part of the curriculum. So we are still trying to put it to be part of the policy. But one must indicate that we are not going to be apologetic when it comes to issues of robotics and coding, because we know that it will play a very vital role in our learners in making sure that in future they are innovative. Because repela mudi for ariano, we have to face reality. If China can do it, even South Africa can also do it to prepare our children. But I must indicate that Northwest Province is one of the provinces out of 9 provinces. They have long started with the coding and robotics as piloting project, and our focus is currently in 185 schools, mostly focusing more the grade 3 and the grade 8. And I must indicate that for this budget speech, I was very difficult. You can even ask the HOD. Because already we have allocated a lot of money specifically for the grade R in terms of buying them toys. I asked them a very simple question, you must come and bring that particular catalog and look at that particular catalog, because we are spending a lot of money for the grade R. Are we saying we are still old-fashioned, whereby bana ba rona ko di grade R, since the matsamikiswa ka pop? What are we encouraging? Are we encouraging those particular children you are a girl learner? How you must make sure you go to our catalog or career premier or di ketlele le di pizza. How ya ku dikolong di visit o kra ngwana a le busy a tshameka ka di toy, a tshameka ka di toy o tshameka ka tsone di pizza tseo le di ketlele. What are we encouraging? Are a girl learner I prepare gore ha gola tiro ga ke go dira ditele go apaya. So I was very clear with them. I did not even want to present that particular budget speech before they can be clear with me to say what is contained in that particular catalog, because I've realized, Premier, that sometimes what we're doing Malaysia's compliance just for the sake of procuring, to say that we have procured toys for our learners, but are they doing impact in terms of foundation? So I'm still waiting for that particular catalog or Resishibe. I know that already you have responded to say that you have, the department has long started with the procurement, but the most important thing is to know whether those particular toys, do they make impact in our learners? But I was very clear for them to say that out of what is allocated to LTSM for the grade R, because we have to focus on the foundation phase. That's where we have to get it right. So we have agreed that we have to make sure that we cater also for those instruments, coding and robotics, so that di kgona go train ngwana at a very early stage. So gone are those days, Premier. Mo dikolong tsa rona you go, how there are fancy furnitures that the madoda. I know that those fancy furnitures, from experience of being a teacher, it is like the colors and everything. But we have to do introspection. What we are procuring, tax money that we are using for our children, are they making an impact so that we prepare them at an early age when they reach the grade 12? Will we be able to be part of top 3 or not? So that's where we are as the Department of Education, and I'm not going to be apologetic about it. And I was very clear to them to say that since I became the MEC, we have been at 185 schools piloting. It has been 3 years now. It is high time for us to increase the number of schools, because all in all, we are having 1,435 schools. So it's not even a 0.something%. So we're not doing any impact as they think they are making an impact. We must have more number of schools so that when they endorse that particular coding and robotics as part of the curriculum, already we are at the advanced stage. So let's hope that for the next budget vote, if I'm still there, will be able to say something positive to say that the numbers have the numbers have increased. Then you look at your AIDS and HIV pregnancy. What programs are we having to cap or reduce the high rate of pregnancy and HIV and AIDS infections among our learners? One must admit that it seems like as the Department of Education, we are still lacking in terms of communication. But one must confirm before media that as the department, we are one of the provinces that is doing good in terms of dealing with these particular issues of HIV and AIDS and pregnancy. You can recall that 2 years back, if I'm not mistaken, there was this particular issue of 3,000 young people in Ratlo only. By Lenghore media in area, they are pregnant. Since after 2 years, I'm sure there's so much issues regarding issue of pregnancy, especially in Ratlo, because of our programs that we are having as the Department of Education, and to show that we are taking this particular issue serious. For this budget vote, we have allocated 16,200,000 rand to implement Life Skills HIV and AIDS program. And I must also indicate that I was very impressed when I was in Germany. Actually, Germany. When I was in Germany, where I was approached by your soul buddies to say that, but MEC, we are doing a lot in the Northwest Province, and we've got a good story to tell. But you as the department, you are not recognizing us, you are not acknowledging the good work that we are doing. We don't see anything that speaks to or that talks to the work that is being done by soul buddies in the Northwest Province. That is why I'm saying I think we are still lacking in terms of communication, but the problem is that we are focusing mainly on issues of curriculum and infrastructure, rather than also focusing on this particular issue, so that you are able to know what is happening, and then what is expected from you is to give us also ideas to say that as much as we are doing well in terms of dealing with this HIV and everything, our view is that why not doing 1, 2, 3? That will definitely impact positively in making sure that we reduce this issue, AIDS and HIV pregnancy. And lastly, Premier, it is unfortunately this is a government and media. If I had powers, I would switch to be political, but I don't want to be. I don't want to do that. I don't want to collapse your media briefing. But mine is just failed to indicate that there's no crisis in the Northwest Province. We are confident that the sitting premier, will definitely finish his term without any interruption, because really, one of our biggest mistakes as the department, as the province as a whole, we are too much clouded by the issue of positions rather than looking at the impact. So we must be different from other provinces. Let us give him all the necessary support for him to complete his term, any disruption and interruptions even before. Mara, I'm sure we bonus the current chairperson, the ruling party. There's no crisis, the center is holding. We don't have to say that whoever becomes the chairperson now, it means that, such things. So we don't have a crisis in the Northwest Province. Lazarus will definitely finish his term with his collective. Thank you very much.
I think let us vouch to that MEC of the Department of Education. We are okay. Our premier is going to finish the term. That one, there's clarity. I was reminded that I forgot to deal with the road that seemed to have been halted or stopped. That's why ourselves as government departments, we have to really forge strong relationships with yourselves. Because as the MEC where I'm sitting, I know that the road is closer to completion. That's what I know at least. But now that you are raising that as an issue, I'm not going to be smart and say, no, there's no crisis. It means as the department, because now you have raised it with us, we'll make a follow-up and get province. We have a challenge of We had a challenge that there was a budget cut, and there's a problem of those that are stopping projects because if they don't find expression in those projects or they don't get the 30%, we know what we do, what people do in the province. So I can vouch to say we have had your question, and I think it is something that we'll have to follow up on, and we'll come back to the media and clarify as to what is it that is happening or what is it that has happened in that particular. But we know that the contractor is expected to be on site and to be nearing the completion. Thank you very much for that particular question. We'll follow up and come back. Thank you.
Okay, just to support MEC of Education, MEC Viola. After the premier year, you are the second. It's only you who can confirm that premier will stay for 5 years. So I'm seconding you as the treasurer. So hierarchy of leadership. Yeah. So the deputy chair cannot speak on for himself. Okay. Now, yeah, we are back from Papa's zone now. Let's go. Health is wealth. We take another kikumo ejimongale. Kilo zagalo enati. So hope it doesn't low humil because we're happy. You can have man all allow we one children. Now, what programs do you have to target young people at school on teenage pregnancy? Now, in supporting MEC Mutumi, just to extend the question, why do we have so many young people not practicing safe sex? Arzamele wana barena. Ukasere u15 ukajola zamele. Ukorona lungwana chama chama. Azama bakobalela bashimanzo. You must teach them to have what you call safe sex. That's the beginning. Now we have special programs and campaigns that we have targeted these young people for an educational purposes on to have use in order to use protection, abstain from unprotected sex, and leading a responsible life. Now those programs, we have a program that is called a social health program, where we deal with sexual transmitted infections as STI, use of condom, and teenage pregnancy awareness. We are working with our social partners like Provincial Council on AIDS, including education, to deal with this matter of teenage pregnancy. Substance abuse and alcohol contributes to irresponsible behavior that lead to unprotected sex. So my experience as the MEC, when we're with the premier, we talk less, and the premier talk too much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much again, colleagues. The question on tender benefiting local people and the earlier question I think relates to this in terms of empowerment of SMMEs. In our budget vote, we did announce that we are going to review the treasury instructions across the province. But most importantly, the review is also informed by the newly signed legislation, the Public Procurement Bill, which is a bill that brings into uniformity the different, there were a number of legislations that regulated public procurement. Now this bill it's a one bill that regulates public procurement across all different spheres of government. And it largely deals with set-asides, localization, and empowerment of local communities, most importantly. But that doesn't mean there are no existing interventions in place from a procurement point of view. The Department of Public Works is driving contractor development program. And that contractor development program in our Lekgotla, we had agreed it must be extended to all other departments that are infrastructure department. And from our side, we are monitoring also the current existing instructions that are in place in terms of set aside. We are measuring the performance of all other departments in terms of empowerment of local people, and we will provide actually on a quarterly basis the report to EXCO. It will no longer be on the expenditure and revenue report premier of both the performance of entities and provincial departments. We will include also the performance in terms of procurement. There was a time during COVID where we issued a detailed report on the extent in which the procurement of COVID, the COVID budget or disaster budget benefited the people of the province or outside. That report, we will share it and make an assessment across all departments, and I think it goes also to the use that you've raised earlier. So we will include it amongst others in terms of all our procurement. What we have also indicated is that we're doing an audit of all the key commodities that we're procuring in the province. And so that we're able, and on top of that, we will also be opening a call for registration of all businesses, especially manufacturing and other sectors that are operating in the province. So that even when we speak about set aside, we have capacity or we don't have capacity. But where we can't be direct shareholders, we have to be direct shareholders through the public entities. It will also address the issues of industrialization and employment in areas that have been a disadvantage, especially disadvantaged communities in the province. Now, in terms of public entities, the Premier has indicated in the past, there was a public entity overview or committee that was established, which has done an assessment. Now, we from our side, we are going to do a financial viability assessment as Provincial Treasury, supported by the Office of the Premier, to look at the financial viability of the entities, because there was a previous report on rationalization of public entities. That's why we have seen the merger of some of the entities and collapse of some of the entities, so that we are able to maximize on our resources and have one entity that is able to respond to the to issues. So the financial viability assessment of public entities will do it in collaboration with different departments that are responsible for those public entities to make an assessment whether this entity is viable, it's living up to its mandate, and it's and even going forward, whether there's a need to recapitalize or there's a need to look into different way to make sure that this entity is financially viable. Now, on municipalities, my MEC Cocta will also add, but on our side as Provincial Treasury, because we have a specific responsibility in terms of the MFMA, we have put about 7 municipalities under mandatory intervention, and those municipalities have adopted financial recovery plans, which we are supporting them to implement those recovery plans. We must emphasize that the implementation of the financial recovery plan is the responsibility of those municipalities, but we have sent our support function to different municipalities to ensure that they comply and implement the financial recovery plans, which has a number of pillars. And we have met with Department of Local Government and Cooperative Governance to see how do we make sure that we integrate our resources and that we maximize on our resources and that we make an impact on municipalities, that our teams on the ground are able to work together in unison to support the municipalities. You will take it further in terms of some of the issues that you have raised on the Ditsobotla specifically. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Chair. There was a question about the Marang Estate project. Now, like we indicated in our our budget speech that the Marang Estate project, it's a social housing project. It was meant to house about 2.4 units. But as indicated that the project was characterized by a number of irregularities. And as a result, one major issue was the issue of the sale of land by the municipality to the developer. So that has brought the project to a halt, and the National Prosecuting Authority and the Hawks are currently working together to investigate the matter. Of course, officials who were involved have been arrested, and there is a court case that is still pending, and I think very soon it will be finalized. So as soon as it is finalized, as to the way forward, we'll then come back and say this is what we are going to do, of course, advised by the NHBRC. So that's that. We'll wait for that. With regard to the Ditsobotla, now your source or the information at your disposal is that the mayor appointed the MM without the council resolution. That I don't know. What we know is that, and it's happening to all municipalities, in terms of the provision of the legislation, once all processes are finalized, where municipalities have appointed senior managers or managers reporting directly to the MM, they then submit the report to the MEC responsible. The MEC will then support or concur with the appointment. As things stand, we have directed the municipality to attend to number of issues because we have identified some of the flaws in terms of the processes, not because of there was no council resolution. So we have directed the mayor to attend to those areas. But over and above that, what we are doing, because we know the situation in the municipality, the premier has directed that all departments must provide support to Ditsobotla. And this is in terms of the provision of the Constitution in terms of Section 154. So what we are doing is to second managers to the municipality from different departments with necessary expertise so that services can be provided. But there are also a number of things that we are doing in the municipality in terms of the areas that we have identified as per our turnaround strategy. And this does not only relate to your Ditsobotla, but it relates to all other municipalities. Very soon, myself and MEC for Treasury will be embarking on a roadshow as part of the engagement with the municipalities in terms of areas that we want to intervene on, areas that we have identified as part of the intervention and all that, but also ensuring that we take everybody on board and leaving no one behind, including your management of the municipality, the councillors and everybody, because what we have realized is that sometimes officials sit with the information and they don't share the information with the councillor, but also ensure that there is an implementation and adherence to the 6 pillars of the back to basics. So I think that's how far I can go in terms of answering the question. The last issue is that we will of course be appointing the board of the Northwest Housing Corp very soon. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Premier. MEC Lehare just sent an official from his department to say to me that Wanghalela, because I don't have questions. And I must also say I agree with him. When the Premier is there, we must allow him to speak. But I was very happy that day. The only thing I want to respond to, Honorable Premier, because this media briefing is live everyone in South Africa. Now, one journalist there says during the opening of the legislature, there were Zulu-speaking journalists, Molefatshe and Labatswana. Now, my department that you deployed me to Premier, one of the responsibilities has key issue of social cohesion. Now, we must push for solidarity amongst all citizens of South Africa. Now, when the legislature was opening, an invite went out. We invite all media houses, provincial media houses, national media houses, and local community radios. So it can't be a responsibility. It's not our responsibility of government to dictate to those media houses who their employees are. But I want to appeal, Prima, that at this level, there should be that understanding that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. It cannot be that because Remo Northwest, they predominantly Botswana, so Zulus or vendors are not welcomed in our province. Because we also travel to go to other provinces, we don't expect that treatment. So I just thought I must come with that aspect to this podium. Thank you very much.
no ra leboga re Maine le apa la gago le o le emetse sentle la o no bona ka re ga ba batlo go botsa dipotso. No, I think go na le dipotso tse mmalwa tse ke batlang go di arabela tse dingwe se di arabetswe. Issue ya people who do business with the state and they are public servants. Now, if you listen to what I referred to in my speech around corruption, it's very simple to deal with. We have since instructed Department that Treasury to create a report, but the Public Service Commission report is also there, so that we are able to track gore ke bomang batho ba ileng ba dire dipuso ba ba dirang kgwebo le puso, and go further into deeper details gore ba e dira ko kae jang, because it's not only about gore o dira kgwebo le puso, e dirwa ko kae jang. We can get deeper into that exercise, but the problem ke gore ga gona consequence management. Dilo tse di teng mara ga gona dikgato tse di tsewang bogolo ya mo badiredi puso. Now, that is why generally gone anong badiredi puso, they are the most powerful people. They are the most powerful. Kura ba sa batle selo se dira ga nka se dira. Ha tsura ke bodipa kgotsa ke question ya gore molao wa ba empower. Now, when I was still at social development, I used to say to them, kura ke dutsing teleng ena fa ke bona na ke na matla dirwa ga ke go bua ela, but se ke se buang tshwantse se diriwe ke lena. Now go ra gore ha o se ka dira se ke se dira da lwana re tlo go thulana ka gore wena a kre wena ga o votelwe nna batho ba mvotetseng ba re ba batla dilo tse di latelang, yana wena o apply, yana ba ba applyileng lo safe ga gona ro kana le community protest e be go ntsha mo mmereko. Yana nna kana ga na le community protest re kana ke man rolana re Thabiso gore a ke teng kgotsa ga ke yana pele ga ke ntshio tshwantse ke ntshe wena gore le nna motsing ke tla go ntsha ke tsore ke go ntshitse le wena, so re tla go thulana le batho ba ileng gore ga ba e go dira tiro ya mmere. Yana so sa ntlha se se botlhokwa ke gore we will get the report e buang ka badiredi puso ba ba dirang kgwebo le puso. O na le two choices, go nna modiredi puso re go nna ra kgwebo. So maybe go re ba release ba go nna bo ra kgwebo ba ba sisimosa, because na go ntse we senya mo mmereko mo nka bo dirile madi a bo itsega. That's number one. Two, ke issue ya rona ya bulela metsi. I think mo provinceng we've got more than 40 to 50 projects running currently. Maran ka gore o monna wa ko Taung re maje. Ko Taung ha re bua ka diprojekts tsa metsi. Ko Tsokonyane, ko Modutung, ko Apama Jakgor, ko Kibichwan, ko Tlapeng 1 and 2. Re na le diprojekts tsa metsi. Yalo di teng ko ngaka Modiri Molema, di teng ko Dr. KK le ko Bojanala. Jare ke ne ke re ke itsisi fela gore ha re ntse re di dira di project tse maswabi ke gore tse dingwe di short term, tse dingwe di medium, tse dingwe di long term. That's why in between go na le tankering gore batho ba rena ba ska ba tlhoka metsi. Tse dingwe a re fitla ke pipeline, tse dingwe ke di borehole, tse dingwe ke di water treatment ra di refurbish and so forth. So some of these projects more than thing as government ka program ya rena ya bulela metsi re na le a clear understanding ya gore problem tsa metsi di ko kae le ko kae le ko kae le ko kae ga se re ga ritse re na le plan e bontshang gore o ramotse re moila gore re dire selo se ra go tlhoka dilo tse di latelang se se re itse gore project engwe le ngwe re ka e dirang at an estimation level e ka re batla madi a makana a madi a o re na lone currently mo pusong re bereka le lehapa la rona la ko national ke kae gore ka kry-a madi a go ka dira di-project tse but the reality ke gore we can't do them all at the same time. The fortunate part is this province in a technical team, a minister physically adula mo go yone chaired by the premier. So it's important for issues tsa metsi they are top on our agenda because kontle ga metsi ga gona bophelo ba gaetso. So for where we are seated ke gore ha re ka nna le little bit of patience le ka the interventions tsa rona tsa metsi tse re di dirang re ntse re na le di long term and short term and medium term. So ra duma re metsi one it's a problem. Ha o tsoga phakela fela ga gona metsi. Issue ya rona ya industrialization. I think MEC we really MEC Moseno. Master se tlhalosang la ke gore through industrialization re convinced gore we will create a lot of jobs. We are convinced at that level. That's why re nagana gore through our special economic zones focus ya rona mo ya gore thusa in terms of how do we industrialize, but also ra dumalana gore industrialization ka bo yone ha ka direga e sena participation ya private sector. Now capitalization ya industrialization it's something that the financial sector must come into play. So it's an ongoing exercise because you can then as government be able to convince by making a business case. That's what I said previously. For financial sector to participate, you must make business sense because by operating profit. And therefore for us to say to them, come in as the financial sector, engage us on the finances, what is business out of what they are going to do? So there are different models that we need to look into. So the Department DDEC through NWDC, they will get into that activity. Now, the last part one, issue ya corruption. Corruption. Or people have been arrested on corruption. There are cases that are there, and therefore refer molao. Now, Rona, Selkasi Dirang, Hakakara Batuamola to Hitler, Kotaseke, Erbamola. So all this will remain allegation. But all proven cases investigated and people arrested, they are there in the courts, and many of you will know about them. So a clean public service. Ibata Ketel Pilasi Politiki resolute and committed. Issue ya di qualifications kudi masipala nke o re buang gore se re fedise mo provincial government challenge ya piro ya batho ba ba submitting the requirements is not as kudi municipality kudi masipaleng o tla go tengwe ke director tsa maka standard 8. It cannot happen in a provincial government. It cannot. I'm saying, re fetse go di masepala ke ko re boneng gore go na le bothata jo bo tsitsibanyang mmele. But like we said, gore ba ke masepala ke puso ka bo bone ba na le ditsamaiso tsa bone and so forth, and therefore go na le abuse ya system ya local government. The next thing ki issue ya rena di SDD SOEs tsa rona in terms of repositioning them, ra dumalana gore the SOE tsa rona, like I said before, ga di mo seemong se re ka tlang ra bua ra re di mo seemong se se siameng. And I said, one key issue ya governance. The SOE tsa rona ha di na di boards, but also answering ya housing corp board. It's advertised. Ke utlile go na le potso e reng ke dingwaga go sena board. I can assure you gore through that advert, but whoever competent they must apply, we will appoint a competent board for housing corp. So I'm answering that question hearing board ewa ya go nna teng go itlhella le. But all our SOEs ga di na di governance structures. So we need to start there. Put a board, ga di na administration. You imagine an entity like NTI, aina CEO, aina CFO, aina the director, rana company, rana company. But you keep acting. How do I share? Ba gona le BRP, uchotse account, usile ka account, CFO ga kgone go access account. CFO ya no bereka yang has na access to the account. A CEO o substantive wa actor. Man mo actisa mo power nya snang matla yon. And we are paying him for that acting. Wa sa mo re he mona ka re BRP o tshotse di thata tsa ga go jotlhe. Boela kwa onne store manager. Ka ro tshotse store manager o se dirile acting CFO. Mara hana di powers. Monna o signang di checkela ke ene le PR ba babedi BRP. Most powerful person I've ever seen. Now I'm saying the entities within the next 6 months, that's what I said to the MEC. In the next 3 to 6 months, we should have settled the issue tsago NTI. And I can assure you, we are getting there. Ke batla go etsa so sa NTI. Because you see, NTI problematic. Once you can have the money, you are done by NTI. Because as it stands, NTI, it batla the bailout from government. But government, a bailout come against having any impact. You are still having the debts as government. Odusika BRP, all only access to your money. How do you America? How do you Mr. Kotole no defend? We defend your own money. Now, we are going to deal with NTI. Sekaska sa re palela di premier tsotlhe tse re tsene re morwe. In the next 6 months, NTI should be history. And I've got the support ya MEC wa finance, and I think we are going to get rid of that. So bo Parks Board, bo Gambling Board, bo NWGC, gona le bo etsa go dide, gona le bo LG, GLR, go gontsi man. Tse dingwe ke ba golo bana le bananyana ba bannyane. Ha o botsara ngwana o eno o berekang ga o kgone o tlhaloganya. Now, tse dingwe tse re tlo di fedisa in the next 6 months will come and report on a quarterly basis. But at the same time, Mabana also, it's another important entity that I'm going to focus on. So all of these entities, we're going to pay special attention, develop strategies, how then do we address them. As and when we report, we'll also tell you what are the challenges, because we don't assume that everything will be honky-dory. I think those were the issues. I think if you have appetite, maybe the last round, I suppose. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Premier and the MBCs. Re tsaya ya bofelo ya matsogo a ka nna mabedi fela bagaetso ya bofelo. ke batla go prioritize ba be le gore ga ise ba botse before. Ta ke simolle ka yo fa yo. Ta ke simolle ka letona fana. Okay, moraga ga go be nna o ka fa morago yola. Yeah.
Ke a leboga re Setswambu. Ke nna Kamogelo Malachi from Northwest University FM. Premier, this question is directed to you. You spoke about the establishment of an economic advisory council. So my question is, what measures will be taken to ensure that there is monitoring? I get it, most of the time you have this council, however, their role is an advisory council. They do not have authority. So what measures will be taken to ensure that the resolution or policies that are proposed by the council is implemented in government? Number two, we know that Northwest is a rural province, and I heard MEC Musenuhi Abuagari industrialization. So how are we going to channel the priority to the rural places in our province to limit the migration of people from going from the rural places into cities? So how will we limit the migration of people in our province through ensuring that we channel the industrialization and also the what you spoke about, the commitment of funding? So how will we channel that into the rural areas so that people do not move from rural areas into cities? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Provincial.
You can stand up, veteran, if you don't mind. And just raise the voice a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Bobby Sol, Mafiking Mail. I just got two questions for you. And they are not going to be long. Firstly, I would like to know which department in the province is responsible for the school sports program, school sports development program. I also like to find out, based on the current situation about the very worrying scholar transport issue, are there any programs that you guys are working on regarding, trying to avoid issues that have recently emerged around the country as far as school sports, as far as scholar transport is concerned? Just one more. The Nelson Mandela Drive has just been completed. I suppose there are still some issues that they are addressing. But my concern is, I have raised this with several officials in the Department of Transport, Roads and Transport. There are, since the road has been opened, there have been too many heavy loaded trucks accessing that road. And we have been assured that there will be ways that they are going to divert the trucks from moving from using the Mandela Drive to drive through to places like Botswana and so forth. I want to know how far is that program and how long is it going to take? Because the problem is that road has just been completed almost, but those trucks are too heavy for that road. And I'm afraid that soon we'll be seeing potholes on that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Tabisho tla package la bothaba ka kere dijo ka re ke bona ba tsama ba go package di story. So tla ba tsela mofa go akere. Sha. All right, to that last hand. Ha gona ope a kere o ise a buing o batla go bua before Vilakazi. Ha gona open fine. Vilakazi is our okay, Vilakazi, then lastly Tebo. That will be the last.
Ke a leboga re Setswamu. Le nna ne ke re ke utlwile botlhoko gore colleague ya ka be re de Zulu speaking. Ke ra la re ke utlwile botlhoko nkgonne gore kganya Zulu speaking a ya ntsa senta so ra ke bua se rolo a ke buile se Zulu. ke a feta foo. Me Mutumi, maloba o buile ka madi a tsitsibanya mmele mo budget speeching ya gago. O bua ka LTSM. Ano ke tsena mo tsa dikolo, go utlwisa botlhoko gore re le bagolo kana re kwalwa di list. Sekolo ela sa quintile 1 se re itseng gore South African School Act sa reng ka sone. O bo kwalla list gore tsa boye go reka dibuka. Ha o tsena go sekolong ka March di flash di tletse ka store ke kopa o ye go address ntlha eo le gore go tsetsa mo ye go reka quintile Q3 ya flash o ipotsa gore a mme teacher jare hitileng ha bona gore mmetso wa ka wa grade 4 ke a go tlhokelwa 3 choir ke a feta foo ke tsena mo ntlheng ya go copta ntlhe ya matlo re molapisi matlo a saletseng ko morago la go irang ka matlo ka gore gona le bo utata le bongwe ba ba tlhomolang pele mosimanyana le kana le nna le vila kaziana na le RDP maro bona utata ela a sokola nna mo tlunye le tlotla ha o mmotsa re se le ke kwadisa ka mo counselor wa ntlha wa 1996 ha ke sebe ke bone RDP la go irang ka dintlha tse di ntseng yalo ke a feta fo me mokua ntlha ya di construction mafia ke bone ka ku D933 ka go ntlhenyele ya sephako go ne go a hlwa tsela ka go ne le kontraka ya ntlha ya heta re molapisi wa itse ya mandla go ne go kgona go emisiwa tsela eo go tenya rona ka gore ha rungwelo mo tseleng tseleno ha e tswelle go tlile gape ra kontraka o monka kwa ke bua yana ka gore ba nkgoreletsa ka kwa ke tshwantse ke bule dipotsanyana tsa ka go polasi ka gore ba hirile ha le hatsheng hale jano dio tse o la go irang ka tsone tse leng gore di tla di kgoreletsa gore di kontraka di hela ha o tla go lebella sebaka sa di kontraka tseo di a heta mora kontraka be ba lla ba reng budget e hedile la go irang ka dio tseo ke a leboga.
Next.
Dumelang gape. This one is directed to the Premier, particularly where he addressed on water. To inform him that there's a serious crisis of water in all the districts. However, I was wishing that your department together, in fact, to look directly into such municipalities of Bongaka Modere Molema, because we are having ghost boreholes. You can go to Masuke, you can go to Mahogwe, you can go to Bumadibuho, Setlahole, Mudimula. We are having boreholes that are not working there and money was paid. So if you can correctly check onto those so that you can give us a proper certainty when we report to the public when they come to us and saying that they do not have water. The other question is directed to Remaine to say that last week or a week before last, he was conducting meetings on checking the status quo of facilities the hosting the sporting activities. I wanted to know from him what was the status quo of Stadium Maba to whereby Rekase Bona se hosta the games instead of the party Mahika Mahike. One other thing, you can tell us the status quo sa Odi Stadium, Gora Stenberg. Thank you very much.
All right. Wabo fellow and that, yeah. Ke go fa opportunity because I suspect that you may want to withdraw that earlier comment.
Ke a leboga. I actually have to rephrase that question because it tlhaga jaaka ka re nile le bosemorafi ga ya nna jalo. Potso ene ke botsa ke gore ga ema bapile media colleagues, ema bapile batho ba ileng gore they were working there, and it's not targeting the Zulus only. It's not targeting batho ba morafe o rileng. E targeta batho ba ileng gore ba kontle, maybe le batho go di provinces tse di kontle, maybe le mo provinceng ya rona gona le batho ba ileng gore they graduated film and television production, they can run all of this production stuff, me e be go prioritisiwa batho ba ba tswang kontle go dira tiro eo e ntseng jalo because ga ra bona le di advertisement tse leng gore ene di bua gore bašwa ba mo Mahikeng, bašwa ba mo Northwest ba apply seo. So I will withdraw that statement ya gore they were Zulu speaking, and I will gladly sincerely apologize to Mazulu and other Morafi.
Bakhuduthamaga.
I think that we must appreciate the apology, but sometimes there are things we must say offline because of the capacity and the power of media. Don't just withdraw permanently, but there are things that are offline. These are the ones you take with the relevant officials like the Premier's office. Issues that you think that must be engaged to improve local content. Because the problem with saying it here, it's live. And we know what happened in Rwanda in the genocide. It was one person who said it and it went live. Everyone else acted on grounds of being mobilized by that message. Later, when the investigation was done, it was very difficult to prove as the originality. Who originally said we must do this? So I think that that's the only sensitivity MEC Maine was talking about. Now, I must address the issue here, my rural migration. There's what is termed as positive migration. The province is number 5 in the country on positive migration. Now, positive migration is exactly what we're talking about. Those that migrate for job purposes, they are recruited. When they migrate, they become part of the workforce in an area. So number 5 on that one. Now, the Premier addressed something that members of the legislature, some of them are misinterpreting, and it's central in migration in South Africa. The issue of DORA, the allocation based on population only, it's central. Here's education MEC. Gauteng, because it's in the metropolitan province, the budget of the city of Johannesburg is above our provincial budget. The budget of the city of Tshwane the same. The budget of Ekurhuleni the same. Then they still get the provincial budget. It's because of the population. Now, people leave for what they see as better opportunities elsewhere. The person we lose from the province, it's minus an allocation. This is where the Premier's state of the opening remarks were. And this is central, that if we lose 2,000 this year, next year when we get an allocation, Rekunene and MEC are going to remind us, on the basis of the 2,000 you lost last year, our allocation is minus. That's where the issue is. Then it comes to internal, what we are raising now. The migration from a rural community to a suburb still within. Even that one, it's based by where people feel their opportunities. The reason they should never be controlled is because it must be up to them to decide where they will live better. The responsibility of the state, like you were questioning, is then to ensure that there's development in the rural areas, especially first, rural infrastructure. Secondly, your development of sectors that are dominant in rural areas, one of them being agriculture in our province, dominant in rural areas, so that opportunities are made to be possible where people reside, and living out must be an option on the betterment of your own skills as an individual. And in this instance, you have the National Department where Land and Rural Reform, it's responsible for that. You also have the provincial one. Then you have Public Works that cuts across infrastructure. Then you have Human Settlement too, because construction of RDP houses, it's not following them. It's constructed where you applied and where you reside at the time. Then there's education and health. If you check, all those departments are meant to then be biased on infrastructural development in rural areas so that opportunities are created there. The only element that we must tighten, that might be questioning us, it's proper coordination. That's why now you have an element, yeah, DDM, District Development Model. It's meant to share all resources so that we have an impact in a particular area. That's what we are doing, and we are to manage people who under normal circumstances would have been entrepreneurs in their rural areas, so that there's no necessity for them to move. That's where government policy is. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Honorable Sambata. I'm being harassed by my predecessor here. No, thank you very much. The question was raised with regards to what is the strategy that we are going to use to make sure we deal with heavy loads as a result of the trucks on our road, the currently well-built roads that have just been opened recently ahead of the 7th administration, the Mandela Drive. Yeah, there is a proposal that we are going to work with the Department of Public Works Roads and Roads to make sure that there is a diversion road from Birmansdrift en route to from Birmansdrift to Sunnyside en route to Ramatlabama. But over and above that, the reason why we want to fast track the issue of Mafikeng Airport is that our research has shown us that the airport can be utilized efficiently for cargo, so that we reduce the number of heavy trucks on our roads. So those are the two strategies that we have to make sure there's a strategy to divert the heavy trucks on our roads, in particular the Mandela Drive, like my colleague from the Mail have raised. The challenges with regards to scholar transport, I did admit it on the budget vote that this is we've got quite a number of challenges on this program. The recent unfortunate event that transpired in the area of Ramotshere, where we have unfortunately lost one learner. A number of challenges that are there. As the department, we are experiencing quite a number of challenges. Some of those challenges, they range from service providers not arriving on time, service providers deciding to ditch us as the department without informing us, raising quite a number of concerns. We have made sure that we advertise a panel of service providers who are well conversant with the area of transport, in particular buses, so that they can be able to respond promptly whenever we've got challenges that we are experiencing. But I must indicate, Honorable Premier, taking advantage of this opportunity, that we are transporting 49,630 learners every day to 366 schools, and we will continue as the department, but we will put more emphasis on the fact that there must be compliance. But I must speak with authority that we have dispatched our team of transport to go and check the roadworthiness of these buses, because the parents and the community at large, they've raised concern that these buses, they are not compliant, and you don't need to be a transport expert to realize that these buses, they are not in good condition. It's a matter of time before a catastrophe happens, and we don't need that to happen to our children. We've already lost one learner. A loss of one life is lost to many. It's an unfortunate incident, and we regret that, and we're still wishing the family comfort during this difficult time. But there are measures in place to make sure that we permanently deal with this problem of scholar transport. Thank you very much.
No, let me see. Larissa is finally, I grabbed your question. No, Odi Stadium is now in Gauteng, so I'm sure MEC Matome Chulwan in Gauteng would be better placed to respond to the status of the stadium, of the Odi Stadium. Correctly so, we did, I did go to Mabato Stadium to check the progress in as far as renovations are concerned at the stadium, Honorable Premier, because we would want that stadium to go to its former glory, such that it's able to host serious national and international games. I must say here that there are renovations taking place, but through the fund that the Premier spoke about and through engagement with the private sector, we hope that we will be able to conclude the stadium and we are able to attract those games. The first match I attended at Stadium was the Vodacom League, when it was called Kudu Horn. So I want the Vodacom League to come back again, Telkom. So we are busy with the renovations. I must say I'm happy with what I found happening there. With regards to the department that is responsible for sports, school sports, I'm sure I'll be representing my colleague, the LGV, very well, that is a joint program for both the Department of Education and my department. And to this effect, we have agreed that we are going to sign an MOU because I'm firm of the belief that for any country to prosper, we need to make sure that we nurture young people while they're at school on sports. So I think these are the last questions, MEC Lehare, that I've grabbed. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Premier. The question regarding the rehabilitation road of D933 and road D2095. I think you are referring to that road. And that road is stretching from Lichtenberg to Helixpan, which is approximately 7.4 kilometers. I can tell that that particular road, the phase that is in now is phase 2. And unfortunately, the issue of which is at 25% progress, the issue of the construction mafias, there's no any other way that we can deal with them other than approaching the court of laws with regard especially to those that are the ringleaders of those groupings. So we have, I think there's a progress in that particular regard, where in different sites, those construction mafias, we have approached the courts, and I think we are at an advanced stage. One will not mention here as to how far are we with those that has been disturbing progress of reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads. But I can tell you that we have approached the courts with regard to these matters. Thank you very much.
two questions. The block projects. I can report yes, indeed, we have some projects that are blocked, and I can give you the number, but in the interest of time, let me indicate that my predecessor, MEC Malloy, launched a project to the former launch a project to unblock all the block projects. And I can report that we are doing very well in as far as that is concerned. However, we experienced some challenges during the budget cuts. But we should be back on track. Yesterday we had a meeting with the MEC for Finance also to discuss that. We are engaging with the National Minister also on that, and the Treasury, so that we can attend to that. So the issue of the block project, it's receiving attention. We are on course. With regard to the beneficiaries, we must inform you that the department is not responsible for the identification of the beneficiaries. It's the municipalities that are responsible for the beneficiaries. I did earlier on indicate that we'll be having an engagement with the municipality, because that is also our concern. So part of the issues that we'll be raising, it's ensuring that as and when we bring this project to our municipalities, we would need to take care of our elderly and the needy people. They would need to be prioritized. So that issue will be also raised with municipalities, including where we construct units and at the end of the day there are no beneficiaries. It's a matter that we are addressing. I can tell you that in as far as the issue of the boreholes is concerned, the district municipality, I think at the level of the district here, you have Dr. RSM as a water service authority and Ngaka Mudir Mulema. As I'm speaking to you now, the district executive mayor is touring the local municipalities, addressing the issues of water. This week they are in Ramotsere, and I think next week they will be in Ratlo. So all these areas, concerns that have been raised at the borehole, ghost boreholes and all that, the district is giving attention to that. So we are also, that's what he referred to, he said ghost boreholes. We are also engaging with the Treasury, because in the previous financial year there was an allocation, extra or additional allocation made to us, which has made some tremendous changes in the lives of our people in terms of addressing two issues of water. So we are also in engagement with the Treasury to see to it how can we assist our municipalities. I think those were the questions that were asked. Thanks very much.
No, thank you very much, colleagues. Mine is just to clarify the issue that was raised by the veteran there regarding the issue of school sports. Remokorosi harina school sports. We do have sports that is relocated to the Department of Arts, Culture, Sports and Recreation. Under the Department of Education, what we do have inclusive education that actually accommodate that element of sports. Because really baruta bana, Department of Education, turarona ke go ruta bana. So habari education, inclusive education, it means that ke fela for physical fitness and so on, not necessarily that we involve bana 100% in terms of sports. So sports belongs to the department belonging to Honorable Maine. Now my core mandate is only to deliver quality education, but to support that, hence the inclusive education. We have allocated this to support mental and physical fitness of our learners. We have allocated them, for example, 15,849,627 rands. And it's not specifically for sports. There are so many issues under Ione, but also accommodate that element of sports. So that is why we saw it fit that we have to balance. Hence, the honorable member there, Honorable Maine, did indicate that there is a memorandum of understanding that we have to sign in making sure that at least we accommodate sports in the Department of Education. The issue of LTSM by Ntate Vilakazi there, you are right, schools are categorized into 5 quintiles, which is 1 until 5. And we know that our policy is very clear. It dictates that quintile 1 until quintile 3, those schools are regarded as non-fee schools. Where as the department, we are providing those particular schools with stationery and other support. But I must emphasize and capitalize on this particular platform to say that Ntate Vilakazi, as a parents, remember our South African School Act is very clear to say that school governing bodies, SGBs, are the ones that govern our schools. And we made sure that we make things easier for the parents for full involvement and participation in making sure that that SGBs also includes component of the parents. I agree with you to say that we cannot allow a situation whereby re reketse dikolo di stationery, be ba baya di stationery, be ba kopa di parents or ba reke stationery. But let's agree that SGBs, they've got rights because sometimes there are educators ba na le passion e ko godimo and they want to be innovative. Go na le a certain project e batlang go dira and the school does not have that money and we acknowledge it is a non-fee school. Why not joining hands with the Department of Education and helping that particular school by contributing something, as much as we appreciate that those particular schools are supposed to be non-fee schools. So the message that I want to send to our parents out there is that I know that you are entitled, your learners are entitled to non-fee schools. They're not paying school fees, we are providing them with food and everything. But let us accommodate each other. Are berekere rotle, re ska ra rely entirely to a point that a point where SGBs, they want to raise a fundraising for the school. Di 5 rand the rest of moon. I'm receiving calls left, right, and center from parents to say that no, those are non-fee schools. The question is, where are we contributing? So you are right. But let's agree that for us to deliver that particular quality education to our learners, let's join hands. If the SGBs are innovative, but like the ideas of fundraising or improve in terms of quality of education, let's try and make sure that we accommodate them. But the most important thing is information sharing. That is why I've encouraged the SGBs that as much as you are elected on behalf of the parents, call the parents meeting. Whatever decisions that you are taking, the parents must be involved in those particular meetings. Avoid a situation where le 5 rand that ntse gape ke tle go accountela bagolo ke kgalemele principal ke mo rekere bana ba ska ba ntshitswe di 5 rand tsa gore ba ya go di Olympia or ba batla go reka something ko sekolong. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very short. Amongst you, nobody asked me about the national health insurance implementation in the Northwest Province. So we'll discuss it in the next meeting. Thank you.
No, ra leboga re le hare gore ga gona bo boditseng ka NHI, but it's a very important milestone. What we are doing now as a province is to prepare ourselves through preparing the necessary infrastructure and facilities, and in terms of how are we going to respond to implementation of NHI. But kitana re tle ko bokhutlong but ke batla go arabela fela ntlha tse pedi e reng advisory council ra go dira yang sure gore dio tse ba di kopang gore di dirwe di a dirwa. Now you can't appoint people and when they advise you don't take their advice. It's as good as they were not there. So ra dumalana gore advisory council exco ke di member tsa advisory council. So it's a council and therefore whatever is going to be agreed upon will have to be implemented because in the province the betterment of the lives of our people, and I don't think there can be anybody in that council or that intention to make it a point that the province succeeds. So we will be implementing all recommendations. The second thing, key issue here, industrialization, but it has been addressed. But the point I'm making, industrialization, government will play an important role in that process. That's why I earlier on referred to putting a business case. But for example, you know, there must be a demand and a market. There must be a demand and a market. And therefore, if our issue is manufacturing, we'll get into the space of the manufacturing sector. If the existing business people there, we partner with them as government. We also look at possible off-takes packages. So we will be looking into this. That's why I spoke about a business case. Now, we will not succeed as government alone, but government is going to play a leading role and is even going to ignite and ensure that we drive the program of industrialization. If you want to do something called Taung as an argument, you want to put a factory in Taung. We may get people in Taung who are already in the business at home. That's what's going to happen. But I was just making a typical example. How to create a mode. More industrialization are create mode. We want you to be an active participant and a driver in the economy and ensure that as a result of your participation, there are spiral offs that gets out of that exercise. Issue here the boreholes among just for an interesting observation that I've made. There are 2,245 boreholes in Nakamudirimulen. Of the 2,245, 1,969 are functional. 177 are not functional in Ngaka. The challenge in Ngaka that I've seen is that how can the problem what they do science no scientific analysis, no assessment, no research. How about the so how can you do the source ya metsi? Now I have said to them, why are you not doing a study, some kind of a master plan? Where do we go? It's kind of like I land the ground, school and so on. Can't be. So I'm saying that was my advice, but you are right. The ghost. I see the ghost. The thing, marhadi functional. So when I go to intimate, you are kids are my because hadi functional. The science behind them, give no problem. Because but respond to a demand, but respond recklessly, in my view. The issue eke makaleting ko parliamentele maloba batho ba opposition bare I'm too ambitious we must review the allocation of resources as a country. I did not understand because my argument for 30 years renewa chelete on the basis ya population. That's what Honorable Sambata was saying. Now small provinces like ourselves got 3.8 million. We compare le Gauteng at 50 point something million. KZN at 12 point something million. Rona re ijela hela Northern Cape, I think so. Le Free State. Yeah, ke bone ba re ba zama. We are a small province. Therefore, we will never get enough resources. So we have 54 billion as our budget. MEC Sambata wa tlhalosa gore budget ya Ikurileni alone, if it ya province ya Northwest, Gauteng, at in Johannesburg, if it Gauteng, if it Northwest, what is this other municipality? Tshwane, if it provincial budget. But we are rural, we are underdeveloped. Gauteng is already developed because the municipality handle the provincial government. Now, if you expect this province to deal with the backlog, special planning apartheid, this amount of money. That's why let's bring private business people to come and play a particular role. Now, if Osabateri change allocation, Yamadi, are in a more developmental in approach. What are the challenges of Limpopo? What are the challenges of Northwest? Kidizela, Kidi Hospital, and so on and so on. And money must then be allocated in relation to the developmental agenda. That's what we are saying. And at least I had a discussion with other premiers when we were in Cape Town. We are sharing the same view, unfortunately. But we are going to use other forums relevant for us to pursue this agenda. It may not be achieved in our lifetime. Maybe our scenario lay the foundation, because somebody must start somewhere, and then there must be work in progress. But they were planned 10 years ago. So that's how government works. So we will pursue this thing. It's not good for the country and its people. But maybe another challenge, somebody who did say about tobacco KZN. Kalonale polygamous marriages. Why ba tobacco Gauteng ba le heta ka kapa? Ya no ba potse ke go araba gore ba mo mathateng a gore ba heta ke Gauteng mare monna o na le basadi ba ka nna ba tlhano ba le ba ratang. Mara no challenge mo go rona as Northwest gore re tlogole go robala. Ya no re tlogole go robala. Re lwantse so se le rona se sa gore re nne le population re nne le drive gore ha re ka nna le target gore in the next 2 years we should have increased our population by at least 2 million. It will be much more better. Ya no rona ba dingwaga tse setseng re ile le tla re itshwarela go tla kgona ba dingwaga tsa borre maine jalo le ya. But in conclusion, I'm very impressed ke the MECs that we have. The leadership is quite all right, and I'm emphasizing this point that our government operating in a silo mentality. We can make an impact as operating jointly, especially on programs that are interrelated and interfacing, especially on the issue of HIV and AIDS, pregnancy, and so on. So it's important that we relate. And that's why at some point I said, I find it very difficult to have a chief director for social development who cannot interact with a chief director for health and go arts, sports, culture, and recreation. I find it very difficult because the things about they are interrelated. So that really impact haribuaka government mo matshelo a batho ba rona. Re tswang ke lebogile ke ne ke re ma ka kalo re promise gore on a quarterly basis will interact and give progress on what is happening in government. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, Premier and the MECs. Bagaiso are ba fe resounding applause. MEC Lehare, I'm sure abona gore go ya ka program e go na le announcements ya kere. And then mo di announcement e ne shontswe ke go dirwa ke re Tatai, the spokesperson to the premier. Wa bona ke re MEC. So ganne go tla kwano a re ga kera. Ya no. Ke nagana gore na dosha di announcement tse ka gore di bukitenyana. All right, so ke tlo go dila ka this announcement. The first one re tlo go kopa gore fa re tswa fa bagaetso re letleleng ke tele dipele the premier and the MECs ba tsweng ka fa, the rest of us re tla tswa ka fale. And then ba tla ya go jela ka fa holding room ka fa ba tseneng teng mo moshong. Sa bobedi ke gore re kopa gore re prioritizing media pele, our media colleagues, re ba feng tšhono ba jeng. Lebaka ke gore palo ya rona fa e feta MEC Lehare e feta palo e re ba e fileng. Re ne re ba file 80 yaanong re 92 ba gana go accommodate the extra 12. Ba gana re lekile go buisana le bone, but they can only accommodate when we pay instantly. Therefore re kopa gore rona ba bangwe ga re kitle re ja pele re tla letlela media pele e je, then ha o sentse go na le sengwe re tla follower media ka goja ka makalo re bore MEC Moreng